Alright guys, Metro Awakening is the latest installment of the fan-favorite, narrative-driven, post-apocalyptic shooter set in the underground after a nuclear fallout forces all survivors to seek refuge in the Moscow subway system. Despite being the newest entry, Awakening is an origin story of a significant character in the series. For those unfamiliar, it will serve as a great introduction, and for existing fans, you get to explore the past of a beloved character to better understand his background, history, and beliefs. So first off, let me just start by saying that after completing the roughly 8 to 10 hour campaign on normal, I walked away thoroughly impressed. It's not often we get high quality VR cinematic storytelling, which is on full display here, but beyond that, it also exemplifies excellent VR mechanics, graphics, sound design, and atmosphere. Diving deeper into the lore, it just gets even better and even more interesting. That shouldn't come as a surprise, however, as the games being based off of the writings of Dmitry Glukhovsky have always really helped bring a ton of detail and life to the world that just add to the immersion. And wow, what a world this is. Right from the get-go, I immediately felt the impact of the type of tragedies that occur, and it only becomes more horrifying and twisted as you go on. I loved that they didn't hold anything back depicting how brutal and violent this world is, with bodies lying everywhere with severed limbs, heads eaten off, or being caged or bound for ritualistic sacrifice. There's a lot of bad history in the tunnels, and it's all there scattered around in detail for you to see while you scavenge anything you can to survive while you search for your wife. Awakening successfully VRifies the core mechanics of the series, and does it with one of the best diegetic UIs to date, meaning that aside from some early tutorial pop-ups, you're not going to see any text, health bars, or markers popping up constantly to break the immersion, but rather have to rely on things represented in-game. For the gameplay, it equips you with unique guns that all require manual reloading, a universal charger for recharging your headlamp or connecting the clamps to power terminals that open doors, and a gas mask that allows you to access heavily irradiated areas. All of these will be put to constant use, and while they're all extremely satisfying to use, the gas mask really stood out to me. The attention to detail of having to monitor your watch, replace your filters, and having to wipe the lens clear was executed well enough to where it can really add to the tension, but isn't clunky to operate. Mechanically, while you may have a moment or few grabbing the wrong item, they clearly put a lot of love and thoroughly tested everything, making it feel extremely polished and well thought out overall. There's not a very deep variety of enemies, but they are vastly different from each other. You'll face off against human factions, mutants, and have to beware of the Dark Ones. The humans you can interact with in two different ways, either gun-blazing shootouts, or if you want to conserve ammo, can take more stealthy approaches by throwing an object to cause a distraction, sneak up behind them, and bop them on the head with either your fist or an object. One of my personal favorite enemies were the mutant lurkers. I was surprised how fast they are, and they felt like a threat with every encounter. But I gotta also shout out the spiders, which you'll likely be happy to know aren't really prominent throughout the game, but the struggle of shooting them off walls or picking them off your hands and face is sure to terrify the arachnophobes out there. With all the humans, mutants, and Dark Ones you encounter, there's loads of action to be had, but it also will take the time to just tell the story, which mostly consists of you just walking through these cinematic experiences, and I think the delivery here was done particularly well. As for the technical breakdown, the game uses 120 frames reprojected, which does produce a little bit of ghosting, and on PSVR2 hardware creates more noticeable mirror effect, but the trade-off is that you get high-resolution textures, excellent lighting, dynamic shadows, and great special effects. The visuals and assets used are of highest quality and polish, and are very close to as if you're playing one of the flat games in VR. While native 90 frames per second and eye-tracked rendering make for the most optimal visual experience on PSVR2, they not only implement the haptics, adaptive triggers, and headset rumble features, but they fine-tuned each of them to near perfection, taking advantage of some of the most unique features of the hardware. I also don't want to forget to mention how incredible the soundtrack is, which really added to the suspense of certain situations, and the music was so beautiful that I even sat through the entire credits just to listen to the theme that played. So overall, at $40 MSRP, I highly recommend playing Metro Awakening, whether you're new to the series or a longtime fan. It showcases what high quality, built from the ground up VR is capable of, contains a full-length campaign, and the delivery of the story keeps it interesting from start to finish and beyond. It's an enjoyable ride that I think everyone wanting a cinematic narrative-driven shooter experience should seek out to play, and I hope to see more games like this are brought to VR. Thank you all for watching, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next one.